Welcome to Beacon of Speech. I'm Fred Hunt. That's Ted Coley. Hi, Ted Coley.
Hello, Fred. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing spec-frickin-tacular. This is episode number 44, Beacon of Speech.
And this is our first one with video.
Yeah, so we're going to see how that goes. It'll probably turn out horrible, and I'll be nervous and having panic attacks under the table. What is Beacon of Speech? We are selling freedom of speech to everybody. That's not really true because we keep trying to take freedom of speech away from people who anger us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to take it away from anybody today?
Nobody leaps to mind.
Freedom of speech in America is under constant assault from the right, from corporations, Fred's natural enemy, and from the left with political correctness. That's the spiel we do at every Beacon of Speech, and sometimes I cut it out, sometimes I add or subtract. Today, I have the magical outline. This is our whole script for our next 1 hour.
And this is going to be a shortened version?
Yeah, we're going to do about an hour version because I don't know how the video is going to come out. If it does come out, we're going to go to the new Ted Coley Studios. We have a small studio with little knickknacks in the table, and we've been waiting for the last 15 minutes while kids have wrapped wire around my living room. So if you took the camera and turned it to the side, here, Ted, grab some of that wire off of the light post. My kids have been wrapping wires around the house, and that's what we've been waiting for. They've been taking these wires, and they're wrapped all across my basement. You can't walk to the bathroom. So that's why we have to move to the Ted Coley Studios next week.
Actually, I'm very nervous about leaving here because I feel like I'm going to forget that there's tripwires.
Well, it's like a spider web or something in my house. And that's fine, but they ran out the door. So, yeah, you're in Nam, and, Charlie's coming to get you.
Because if I fall, I'm not that young anymore.
This will be the last Beacon of Speech because Ted sued Fred.
Yeah, and I feel like, I live alone, and I almost feel like I should get one of those buzzers, in case.
Well, you know what? You just made the cardinal sin of webcasting. Is you announce on the internet that you live alone. So next thing you know, Ted Bundy's little brother, Stefan Bundy or whatever, is going to come to your house. So, what are we talking about today on Beacon of Speech?
I don't know.
I am going to tell you. Number one on our outline is fake news. CNN says they want to crack down on fake news. Now, what is the definition of fake news?
Fake news.
Fake news.
It depends who you ask.
Well, that's the whole point. CNN says they're going to crack down on fake news. Facebook said they are going to try and weed out fake news. Well, let's just take CNN for the example. Let's not pick on Facebook because I like Facebook. Okay? CNN wants to crack down on fake news. But their polling data said that Hillary Clinton was going to win by 6 points, right? Mm-hmm. So technically, wouldn't CNN's own polling data be fake news?
Yeah.
So when you say it's perspective, it goes back to, well, who's deciding what fake news is? Now, I understand fake news like, the crazies who said there was no Holocaust, right? That's fake news, right? But other things are, more like the polling example that I used for Hillary Clinton. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Who decides who fake news is? And all these websites are like, well, we don't want to do fake news. We don't want to be involved in fake news. Well, are you familiar with The Onion?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, technically, they're fake news. Well, do you have to put a disclaimer that we are a comedy site? You see what I'm saying? So where do you draw the line, and who decides who draws the line? Do you trust Donald Trump to draw the line? I know you trust Donald Trump to draw the line, but I don't trust him.
I have put my complete faith and trust in Donald Trump. I'll have you know.
Donald Trump is, like I said, he's a real piece of work because he's like, I'm not going to have any insiders.
He's already saved 1,000 jobs.
1,000 jobs in Indiana. Yay, Donald Trump! Woohoo! See, now I could do the thumbs up, and I could. What's the favorite thing that I do in every episode? Air quote. Wait, I got to skip over. Other way. Air quotes. Now I can do air quotes so people can see it on TV. So, yeah. So the first thing is fake news on CNN. It's too easy, Ted. You know what I mean? You can make fun of CNN, you can make fun of Facebook, you can make fun of all these left-leaning places that say, we're going to stamp out fake news. But again, who's the arbiter? Who's the gatekeeper? And that's why Donald Trump won. You know what I mean? Because of all this shenanigans. Again,
all these shenanigans and malarkey.
Shenanigans and malarkey and rigmarole. So my favorite thing is fake news. Technically, we're fake news, right? Because we don't have a fact-checking... I'm telling you right here. Where's the camera? My fact-checking department is right there. If you don't double-check me, because I'm like, this is...
I'm the fact-checking
You are my fact-checker. Because you're never wrong. You're right, like, almost all the time. When we worked together, he was always right. He was like clockwork, and I'm like, this zany idea might work. But then it'd be like, that didn't work at all. Now, fake news, right? Who decides fake news? Now, the next thing I had on the topic was Jill Stein and voting anomalies. Okay? Now, we started out with the polling.
You know what I was thinking? Not to interrupt you, but
No,
you know what I was thinking today? Jill Stein seems to be the person leading this charge.
Yes.
What could be her motivation? It's not like they're going to do a recount and find that she won.
That is excellent, because we're going to get into that.
It seems like she's a surrogate.
Well, there's more to it than being a surrogate, but yes, you're onto something. Because here's the deal. We're talking about CNN and fake news, 6 points off on the polling. And they don't want to stop their own fake news. They want to stop other people's fake news, right? Jill Stein said that I want to do a recount, right? Why did she want to do a recount? She wanted to do a recount because, I think I wrote it down, in Wisconsin, Michigan, and what was the other Midwestern state? Pennsylvania. In those 3 states, in the cities where they still have paper ballots because they can't afford to go into the computers, the paper ballots all showed Hillary Clinton was winning in the cities. But in the suburbs where me and you, I voted on a computer.
Well, actually, no, I did paper.
Yeah, well, because you live in the city.
That's where you fill in the circle.
Yeah, you fill in the circle.
Now, the thing is, you do that, but then after you're done, you feed it into...
Right. You feed it into, but it's still a paper ballot.
But it's still paper.
Right. Okay. In the suburbs, like in Lorain County, you do the computer. Well, according to Jill Stein, right, out in the suburbs and out in the countryside, all the counties with money, they all voted for Trump. Well, of course, the computers must have been hacked because who else would vote for Trump? So her rationale isn't even solid. It's like, well, no, the suburbs and the country voted for Trump, and the poor people voted for Hillary. I mean, it's a rule of thumb. You know what I mean?
And you know what else is funny? They're only doing a recount in the states that Trump won.
Right.
There's no chance that there was any fraud in the states that Hillary won.
Right. Right. So, and again, you are onto something. Now, again, her premise, I like Jill Stein, okay, because I'm all about third-party candidates, right? Her premise is flawed because it's like, well, why would you think it's hacked? And then she explained it. I'm like, but that didn't answer the question. What made you think that this computer system was hacked? Well, Trump won. Yeah, but was there some sort... You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, the polls were wrong. Well, yeah, that goes back to the fake news. Yeah. They were moving the agenda.
Yeah, the polls couldn't be wrong. It must be the actual voting that was wrong.
But it didn't make it worse because the I guess the whoever's in charge of the computer ballots, he came out in Wisconsin, whoever, the contractor is, whether it's Diebold, I think that's Diebold does it in Ohio. But whoever does it in Wisconsin, he goes, you can take this election machine, right? This voting machine, you can put in the middle of Red Square, and Putin could come out with his own computer, and he couldn't hack it, right? And so he's not helping, the situation. But again, it goes back to, the guy who makes the computer or make the voting machines. Now he's mad. And like you said, well, it can't be that Hillary just lost. It must have been all this.
You know, it would be like a weatherman making a prediction, and he's wrong, and then saying, you know what, I want the weather investigated.
Yeah. I made the right decision. I don't know how it rained. Somebody must have planted. What is it when you plant the seeds to make it rain? The cloud seeding?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. But so that's why it's kind of like a scam that she's doing it. But back to your original point. Why is she doing it? Okay? She's doing it because on the far left, where the Green Party is, for much of their platform, they're raising money for the next election. All these people are going to be like, oh, Jill Stein, she's a hero. She wanted to contest Trump, right? She wanted to raise $6.5 million. But what I read, and again, it could be wrong. I don't want to be the purveyor of fake news, right? But they said she raised $6.5 million to recount in those 3 states, but she is not tied to that $6.5 million. You see what I'm saying? So Jill Stein can't go out and buy a mansion, right?
Yeah.
But she can put it towards Jill Stein 2020. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So she can use this as an opportunity to move the Green. Now, I respect her for that because I'm like, good, third parties jamming, the Democrats.
Now, what was she before? Is she some kind of like congresswoman or?
Oh, jeez. I read it and I remember reading what she was, but off the top of my head, I don't remember.
Yeah.
See, Ted stumped me already. See, the video's already messing us up. It's throwing off our feng shui or whatever it's called. Feng shui. So, Ted's looking at my sheet. Don't cheat. You cannot look at the.
I can't see.
What happened is we're going to talk about top 10 albums of 2016. I want you to see the list. I don't want you to ruin my shtick. Okay. So I don't remember how Jill Stein works. But I didn't vote for her. I voted for Gary Johnson. I even read online today. It said, which one of the 4 party candidates is not whining about the election results? And it was a picture of Gary Johnson, which is who you should have voted for. That's who I voted for. You should have voted for Gary Johnson. But, I don't know Jill Stein's whole story. I just know that she's very angry and she's trying to raise money.
So Gary Johnson didn't give a concession speech?
No, I think he gave his concession speech in October.
In Aleppo.
Yeah, that is where he gave it. So anyhow, we were talking about the Wisconsin voting machines, right? Now, guy in Wisconsin says you can put in red square, right? And the Russians wouldn't get it.
So wait, not to interrupt again, but you say it's generally in the cities that they have the paper ballots.
Right.
So will they be recounting the paper?
Oh, no, you don't have... Those are fine, because those are all fine, because those are all Hillary votes.
There's no errors at all with that.
No, they need to check the computer systems where Trump won. That's why it's a scam, right there. And I understand why Jill Stein did it, because she's jamming the Democrats. I don't agree with her, but I understand why she's doing it. She's doing it to raise money for Jill Stein and Green. And again, she's not trying to build an in-ground pool or, whatever. She's trying to move it forward she's already thinking for her next election. But when Hillary Clinton came on, she's like, oh yeah, Jill Stein might be onto something. It's like, yeah, she's a piece of work. They tried to get Jill Stein and Gary Johnson out, and now all of a sudden she's like, oh, Jill Stein, yes, do the recount. Me and you are buds. We used to hang out at the spa together. But so anyhow, red square, back to the voting machines. The guy from Wisconsin said you can put the voting machines in red square, right? Putin this week made national news, and if you didn't hear it, you will get the biggest slap you have ever gotten, okay? And I'm going to read straight from the paper. On stage, the Russian president asked a 9-year-old boy, and I ripped this straight from CNN, right? Mm-hmm. Where does Russia's border end? Where does Russia's border end? Okay, don't answer. The child answered at the Bering Strait with the United States, right?
Yeah.
Vladimir Putin looked in the camera, okay, and he goes, Russia's borders do not end anywhere, okay? So, and the phone's ringing. It's probably my wife saying, I know you're doing the video, but could you... So they do not end anywhere. During a live televised awards ceremony for students in Moscow, right? So Russia's borders don't end anywhere, right? So what's the headline on CNN the next day?
Putin and Trump
For world domination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what it said?
It was like Putin bent on global expansion, right? They softened it up.
With Trump's support.
Right. And of course, it goes back, and me and you are about the same age, right? Do you remember when Reagan said, he came on the fireside chat, and he said, I signed a bill that outlawed Russia, the bombing starts in 5 minutes. And all the Republicans in America was like, and all the Democrats were like, oh, you just started World War III, right? I think it is literally the same exact thing. Putin is taking a stick and he's poking the bear because he can, because it's fun, because that's the way he rolls. And like I said, I didn't take him literally when he said that, right? The borders don't end anywhere. It's funny. You know what I mean? And he's poking at America is all he's doing. But, like I said, now, you could go back to CNN and say, is that really Putin bent on global domination? Well, no, I think he was telling a joke. But nowhere in the article did it say CNN understands that Putin was probably joking. You see what I'm saying? There was no disclaimer. It's like, see, I told you he was coming. He's going to march. Now, don't get me wrong. He's probably going to try and take over Ukraine. He's probably going to do that. But he's not going to be marching down the streets of Paris or, London anytime soon. So that's why, we come back. And maybe in 10 years, maybe CNN was right. You know what I mean? You could be like, oh, Fred, we should have listened when Putin said that the global borders don't end anywhere. Right? And again, he wasn't in Red Square, and he wasn't pounding his fist on the table. He's not Hitler throwing the sign up, and he's Putin. He's at a Russian award show, and he's making jokes. You know what I mean? What's the difference between Putin doing that and Obama doing an interview with Rolling Stone magazine, or going out with Ellen and doing a funky little dance? Hey, I love Ellen. We all love LGBT rights, and there's really no difference. I'm sorry, you're laughing about Putin.
Yeah.
So
you think Putin was joking?
Well, let's put it this way. I think he was joking. I think he was having some fun, because I'm telling you, the Russians have a darker sense of humor. Okay? But again, what is fake news? We can spin it around and say, right now I'm telling fake news. Oh, you know what? Fred Hunt, he said that Putin was joking. How's Fred Hunt know? Does he have a red phone to the Kremlin? Right? Or I can say that CNN took a comical story and they reported it as dead serious news. So who's right? Well, we'll wait 10 years and see if I was right or if CNN was right. Well, CNN would be like, wow, you know what, Fred Hunt, you're a hack. Well, fair enough, right? But that's why there's freedom of speech. And again, unless it's blatantly false, like who's the basketball player, or no, it wasn't a basketball player, NFL player who said, the moon landing was false.
Oh, wow.
I in my head I can see him. I can't pick it up.
It wasn't Kaepernick, was it? He's been saying a lot of...
No, he's been saying other knuckleheaded things. And don't get me wrong, he has the right to say it, but again, you have to choose your battles, okay? Yeah. Let's put it this way. In America...
I guarantee you I'm going to trip when I stand up.
I'm sorry, Ted. I'll move those wires later. Like I said, you have to see off camera. There's literally wires all over the house. There was a wire behind me. Is the one back here? Yeah. This is tied... My daughter tied this around... Oh, she's tied it around the chair. and it's got tripwire everywhere. You're going to be having, like I said, you're going to be having acid flashbacks. But what was I saying before you tripped me up?
I don't know. We were talking about who was the NFL player who said the movie.
Oh yeah. So Kaepernick, right? America's capitalist society. Capitalism is basically whoever wins is right, right?
Mm-hmm.
More or less, a general rule of thumb. And I can say that because we're in America, right? for now. We could. But Kaepernick is a loser. They said he's lost 10 games in a row, right? So they're like, oh, Kaepernick, he can't even win a football game. But LeBron James comes out and he's campaigning hard for not now, but he was, Hillary Clinton's the best. LeBron James has gravitas because he won a world championship, right? So his freedom of speech is better than Kaepernick's freedom of speech. If you sat down with Kaepernick and you sat down with LeBron James, you took away their handlers and say, how do you really feel? And they were both honest. They're probably close to the same politically.
Yeah.
Not exactly the same, but close.
Yeah.
But because Kaepernick is a knucklehead, and some of his views are only because he's dating a Muslim woman, right?
Is he?
Yeah. And so some of that is...
But he's not a Muslim, is he?
No, he was raised... I remember reading an article when he went to the Super Bowl. He had, and I can't remember if it was across his whole forearm or across his whole pectoral muscle, a giant shining cross, right? So if he converted. But, when he came up...
I heard on his one arm he has, what is beacon of speech?
Yeah, we're making enemies everywhere we go. But again, because LeBron is a winner...
welcome to Beacon of Speech.
Yeah, welcome. Beacon of Speech sucks. But again, because he's a loser, his speech doesn't hold up. And I put this on my Facebook page, okay? Oh, I see you're looking over. You're trying to cheat on the Rolling Stone, okay?
I'm looking, but I can't see.
Because he's a loser, they don't care. You know what I mean? Out you go. You have less speech. On my Facebook thing, Rush Limbaugh said money equals free speech, right? And that's why there should be no restrictions on, campaign. Just keep throwing money down the toilet, right? Whereas Al Gore said free speech, or money is not equal to free speech, meaning... it doesn't matter how much money you have, everybody has free speech, right? Now, I agree with Al Gore. Now, I don't usually agree with Al Gore, but in this case, I do. But Al Gore lives in this magical bubble, right, where he just made all that money on that Al Jazeera sale, right? Rush Limbaugh describes how America actually works. Al Gore, described how he would like America to work. You know what I mean? So, again, when Rush Limbaugh says money equals free speech, you could say the same thing for winners and losers. LeBron's free speech has more merit than Colin Kaepernick's because he's a winner. Now, and I'm going to slam Colin Kaepernick again. If Colin Kaepernick felt this strongly about stuff, there's way you could write about it, or you could quit football and go work in the San Francisco urban outreach. Well, I don't want to pass up my $10 million payday. Maybe when I retire from football. You see what I'm saying? So again, if you felt that strongly, but you could tell at some point his passion was not making political statements. He could have became counsel. He could have been the Zach Reed of San Francisco. You know what I mean? But instead, he's like, you know what? I think I'd rather play football, right? Well, he's going to be out of the league because he sucks, okay?
Now, is he starting now?
Yes.
But he wasn't at the beginning of the year, right?
No. Someone else was starting, and then they were hurt, and then Blaine Gabbert, and but they said he's lost 10 games in a row. See, there's the other distraction. See, now, I got to explain. we're doing it at my house, but if this works, we're going to do it at Ted's house from now on, because we tried live streaming, but the live streaming didn't work. Okay, so now we're trying through the MacBook Pro movie program, the Pro Editing Tool X, whatever that's called. I don't even know, and I've been using it for the last couple of years. So if this works, we're gonna upload it from there, and then we're gonna go to the little TED studios where we can have instead of a light blaring off of the back and just like this is my backyard, but all you can see is black and our reflection. Mm-hmm. So we'll have knickknacks and we'll be more comfortable instead of crowding together. I don't like sitting that close to Ted. He makes me nervous.
Well, this, like, looking at the video, it makes me think of like Charlie Sheen when he was like smoking and on his webcast or whatever he did after.
Yeah. There's another winner. I mean, Charlie Sheen has freedom of speech, but that's what happens in America.
You know what I'm talking about when he was like winning.
Yeah, winning. Yeah, he's not winning no more. What's my next topic? You ready to get serious and not know literally anything about what we're gonna literally make news out of the air?
This isn't the top 10 albums, or
nope. I'm still teasing that.
This is something that
I
have no idea what's coming. Right?
Freedom of speech. Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Standing Rock Indian Reservation. What do you know about what's going on in North Dakota with the Standing Rock Indian Reservation?
I really don't know anything, but you mentioned something the other day. Does this have something to do with a pipeline or?
Okay. Now we're going to start from the beginning. Okay. You are the common man, and the reason I didn't tell you about this is because I'm testing you are the common man. And what did I know about it before 2 weeks ago? Nothing. Every once in a while I'd be on CNN and I'd see protests in North Dakota, and I'd just skip it, right?
This is North Dakota.
North Dakota. And it was never a headline. It was always like on the bottom corner, protests in North Dakota, and sports. You see what I'm saying? It was never ahead of the election, ever. Okay? So I decided last week to read up on why the Indians are protesting in North Dakota. Right? So you don't know anything. It has something to do with Indians being unhappy. And that's literally all you know, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can expand. You don't know anything else.
No, I don't know anything else.
Okay. I didn't know anything else. I knew there was something going on in North Dakota. So, what I did...
I just know that somebody's always unhappy.
That's where we're going. That's where we're going with this, is everybody's always unhappy. Someone's always unhappy. So, the price of oil in America is going down, 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 right? Why? Because we're doing fracking.
Yeah.
And we're fracking the crap out of everything, and now there's earthquakes in Oklahoma. And we're like, oh, well, it's a small price to pay for $1.99 gas, right?
And there's flames coming out of people's faucets.
And flames out of the faucets, right. So in North Dakota, now, I guess they want to have a oil, and again, I'm doing it from memory. Again, there's no slide. I'm not reading a script. I'm not looking at a teleprompter.
Nothing up my sleeve.
Nothing's up my sleeve. Okay. They want to build a pipeline from northern North Dakota to somewhere around Kansas City or St. Louis to a bigger pipeline, right? So they just want to build an oil pipeline. And the Army Corps of Engineers came out with a plan not to go through the Indian reservations because they're their own entities. And they were going to go north of the city of Bismark, North Dakota. Are you familiar with Bismark, North Dakota?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Right, I've heard of it. I think I drove through it once, right? Bismark, North Dakota, population, whatever it is. Small town North Dakota. Not small, but, for North Dakota, it's not big. But, so, they're going to put the pipeline just north of Bismark. Army Corps of Engineers does a study. They said, well, what happens if there's an emergency and the pipeline ruptures, and then you just poison the water supply of Bismarck, North Dakota, right? So we want to keep it out in the countryside, and we're going to run it right up along this Indian reservation.
Right through a teepee.
Well, no, that's the whole thing. That's the scam of this whole protest, okay? The Army Corps of Engineers says, we want to move this away from the city of Bismarck. We're going to put it right on the property line of the Indian reservation. Like, the pipeline like, one side of the street is the Indian reservation, the other side of the street's the pipeline. Literally that close, right? And the Indians are like, you just did a study and said you don't want it. You're worried about it getting into the Bismarck water supply. Why'd you put it down here? So they're like, screw you. You're not going to put this pipeline here. So the U.S.
Well, the Indians said screw you.
Yeah, the Indians said screw you. The American government says, well, technically we can do anything we want because they're a-holes, right? Legally they can, but that doesn't make them not a-holes. And they said, we are not on the Indian reservation, right? And don't worry, the pipeline is safe, right? Well, how do you know it's safe? Well, all pipelines are safe. Oh, this pipeline leaks. Oh, don't count that pipeline, right? So the Indians come up on the north tip of their land, and they're camping. And again, I could be wrong, but they're camping on the property line, and they built an encampment, and they're protesting peacefully. Well, CNN, all the national news media, they only cover it in passing, but if you go on the internet, you can see they've attacked the Indians, and again, they're trying to clear out the protesters so the Army Corps of Engineers can flatten the land and make the land good for the pipeline, right? And just pretend like...
They've attacked the Indians, or...
That's what the Indians claim, that they're sitting quietly, and then, the riot police come and bop them on the head, right? But of course, if there's no video... right? If there's no video of somebody bopping them on the head, is it real or fake? And I saw something on a conservative site. It was an Indian protester, got his face all mangled, right? And they said that they got beaten by the security guards building the pipeline. And then the conservative website said, that's fake news. That's not real. That was a bombing in Syria, and they just took the victim's face, they cropped it out, and they said, oh no, the Indians are saying they're getting beaten up, but this is actually a kid from Syria. You see what I'm saying? Well, now are the conservatives moving an agenda? And they're saying that the conservatives are saying the Indians are illegally blocking progress. Okay? And again, technically, they're right, but let's pretend like you're an Indian, and look at the camera. Ted is obviously not an Indian, okay? Now, let's say you were worried about the pipeline, okay? You're worried about... And the U.S. government said, you know what, Ted Coley, screw you. We're going to put this right down McCracken, right? And there's nothing you can do. And you'd be like, well, screw that. I'm going to sit... you can see my knees are up. I'm going to sit on McCracken, and you're not going to build this pipeline. And they said, we're going to beat you and your friends up, Ted Coley.
Unless they give me market value for my house.
Oh no, they don't want to give you market value. You can still stay in your, and that's why, and the U.S.
Well,
government...
I have to drive over a pipe every time I leave my house?
Well, yeah, you have to go under the, they're going to build an access road for you to go under the pipeline to leave it, and your view's screwed. You're on your property, and if the pipeline leaks, hey, it's leaking, they're like, yeah, we'll get around to it when we get to it.
Well, I'll just get a couple of cans and get some free gas.
Your gas is going to be even cheaper. So the Indians have a point, right? Why, if it's perfectly safe, why wouldn't you run it on the north end of Bismarck, right?
Yeah.
But then the U.S. government has a point. Well, technically, we're not on Indian land, so go back to your teepees and go play in the sand.
Go play.
Well, yeah. But that's basically what they're saying. And the reason I'm bringing it up on Beacon of Speech today is because I didn't know anything about it. So I'm reading the Indian stuff, and all these tribes are like, we're sick of the government, treating us like this.
I'm laughing, but I actually feel sorry for the Indians, because it seems like they always get like pushed around.
Well, yeah, but that's what they're saying. They're like, how come every time something happens, the white man pushes us to the side? And they said all the tribes agree that we don't want this pipeline. And the U.S. government's like, well, that's the price of progress. But again, why'd you move it? Well, we did a study. Well, you can make a study saying anything. So the reason I bring this up is a couple of days ago, the U.S. government said, okay, there's no problems here, but all you protesters have to get out by December 5th. We're not going to move you, but you just got to be gone, right? Well, how do you think that's going to go, Ted? And the Indians said, how about this? How about on December 5th, we have 20,000 people, and I guess some veterans of the U.S. Armed Forces, they think that the Indians are getting pushed around.
Yeah.
And
I heard about that.
I read an article today that 2,000 veterans have gone in there to be ground muscle if troops come in.
Oh, boy.
So they know tactically, without weapons, how to stop the police. You see what I'm saying? So now there's a showdown ramping up in North Dakota. I'm still not reading about it on the top of any news site. You see what I'm saying? But the government's just like, there's nothing to see here. And CNN, again, because it doesn't advance CNN's agenda, you know, they're not taking up for any Indians. There's no Indians watching CNN. You know what I mean? But I'm making light. But you see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, who is right and who is wrong? Well, they're both shades of gray. You know what I mean? And we go back to the Ted Coley analogy. You're the Indian, right? At the end of the day, you can't stay there forever. You can't stay there for 100 years. You know what I mean? You can't make this a new city and then people just sit there all the time. The U.S. government's going to move those people, right? Well, are you going to go with the billy clubs? And they said, well, we only have water cannons. That's what the U.S. government said.
Oh.
Right, but when it's 20 degrees, water cannons hurt like hell, right? And you're sitting out there and you're freezing cold, right? So the reason I asked you, I gotta step off real quick. My nose is running. I want to trip on camera. I'm not used to. I'm freezing. But so there's degrees of it, and then you're going to come to a point on December 5th where freedom of speech is, do you believe the government? Do you believe the Indians? Do you believe CNN? Or do you believe Fox News? You see what I'm saying? And a lot of them are omitting parts of the thing. Like, I didn't know that I thought the protest was on Indian soil, right? I'm like, no, it's on the edge. Just like I said, you're not protesting in your house, you're protesting in the road in front of your house. And, you know, Ted, you're blocking traffic. How can you block McCracken? All these people got to get back and forth to work. Well, how many people are driving down, you know, and again, the pipeline goes through one of their main sources of water. So the Indians have a legitimate gripe. And how many times have the government, we accidentally spilled, you know, whatever in the water. You know, you remember that, didn't they turn that river like gold or red a year or two ago on Indian land?
Probably.
And the Indians were complaining that the government wasn't fixing it. And they're like, well, it's hard to get to logistically, you know. Again, who do you believe and who, you know, you have the right to say it, but then who's deciding who's right? You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that's going to be our next big test because part of the reason I wanted to do this today.
This is December 5th?
December 5th. The U.S. government said on December 5th, just so you know, that land's going to be clear. And we're telling you Indians, just be gone. Just by December 5th, leave. And they're like, you're going to suck an egg and we're going to stay. So now we've reached an impasse. Well, now does it turn into David Koresh?
Yeah. Do
you sit there for 400 days? Well, the pipeline's got to get done. Everybody's got to get their oil from the fracking, which I'm not the biggest fan. Now, this is how I feel, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is my, you know, the moon
landing?
Yeah, this is my moon landing thing. To me, I think that oil is in the earth for a reason, right? and you can pump it out, but once you start fracking and like literally wringing the oil out of the earth, it's like taking someone's body and wringing the blood out of it. I can't imagine that it's good for the earth. And again, you talk about the flames from the faucet.
Yeah.
All I can think of is the earthquakes. Oklahoma didn't have an earthquake in 10,000 years until they start fracking. Now they have them every other month. It must be a wild coincidence.
You can't prove that.
Yeah, I can't prove it. So Fred is... fracking is perfectly safe. You are spreading fake news by saying fracking is like squeezing blood out of a person. But again, they'll do studies and it'll take 100 years. You know what? That fracking 100 years ago, that was a really bad idea. They did a ton of damage in the Midwest. And I'm in my grave with our 3 viewers saying, Fred was right. Because all you hear is fracking is safe, right? All that stuff about all that other stuff is fracking is an urban legend. Don't you like paying $1.99 for gas?
Actually, I do.
You damn Trump voter! You're part of the problem.
Like I said, I would drill until the earth looked like a wiffle ball.
Well, don't get me wrong. And Ted, this is where me and you agree. I agree that you should drill, okay? And if you're in Alaska, if you're in a nature preserve, drill the crap out of that.
Not to mention one of our competitors, but Glenn Beck once said that he would drill through a caribou's head.
Yes, I agree with that. But that fracking, there's something about fracking that I think is unnatural.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And again, maybe I'm the crazy person. And then, next thing I know, we have 2 views per episode. We lose our 2 viewers. Beacon of speech is fake news. Proven. Oh, geez. Something else I got to worry about.
Our 2 viewers have said that we've gone too far.
Yeah, we're not. You've gone too far. We're not listening. But again, I want to sympathize with the Indians. I do. You know what I mean? Because how many times... I'm going to ask you this. When Trump was running for president and people were yelling about we can't stop immigration, right? And then you'd hear somebody say, well, the Indians let us immigrate, or the poor Indians should have stopped those. You know what I mean? So I kept hearing about the Indians all through the election cycle. To us, you are all immigrants. Oh, yeah, that's so clever. I get it. We're all immigrants to the Indians. Mm-hmm. So I want to feel for the Indians. But, again, the U.S. government basically screwed them. But they're like, hey, what are you going to do? That's the law. We're the government. And they make the rules, and the Indians get screwed. But the Indians don't have recourse because what they're trying to do is they're trying to expand their treaty because they have a treaty for the land that they're on. But they're saying that the pipeline would interfere with the water rights. It could contaminate their water. Yeah. But it's ifs, ands, and buts. That pipeline might be solid as can be and might not ever leak. And there are pipelines that never leak. But I remember there was a pipeline somewhere in the Pacific, and they said they couldn't get to it, and it leaked for like 2 years because they couldn't get to it in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Well, how'd you get it into the Pacific Ocean? Yeah. You see what I'm saying? And that's the Indian argument. They're like, well, you had leaks here, 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 and here. Well, we're looking out for our water. That's our water. So, now do you feel educated? Because I still don't have the intricacies of it. Yeah. But again, I get it. The white man is the a-hole.
So the Indians must keep up on news then, right?
I don't think they do.
Well, how do they know about all these leaks?
Oh, well, the internet. I think their tribal president looked it up and said, oh, there's leaks everywhere. You know what I mean?
So even they have the internet.
Well, that's the whole thing. Let's say we weren't doing this. We're not on camera right now, right? We're not on camera right now. And the leaks... say we want to look up pipeline leaks, right? And just go on Google, oil pipeline leaks, and I'm sure it would scroll down, oil pipeline leak, and the guy writes it down and says, look at all these leaks. I mean, it's easy. It probably took him 10 minutes. You see what I'm saying? Ted's still talking about Indians. Ted's all these people are going to hate us. The Indians are going to hate us.
No, I'm just thinking. It's like, you think of Indians, you think of people who are like isolated.
Right.
But even they, according to you, have the internet, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I remember reading in National Geographic, and they said that people in Africa, they have cell phones.
Yeah.
But they never had landlines. And there's a term for it for skipping a generation of technology, right? And so
So they never had phones, and then when cell phones came into being, they have...
Right. They didn't have like a landline. They didn't have the AT&T rotary phone that Grandma had, that Ted's mom had when he was growing up.
And that I still have.
Well, I had a rotary... We were talking about this at my work. When we moved into this house, the palatial estate that we have here, there was a rotary phone in the garage. And you had a rotary phone. You still have one?
Well, I don't, but I think my parents still have one.
Yeah. So they said in Africa, they skipped the generation of landlines, right? They just went straight from no phone to cell phone. Well, it's the same thing with the Indians. I don't know if they have landline service, but they can get the internet and they can get cell phones, and they can circumvent certain things. And again, it's not that hard to research. I talk about being on the internet all the time. You just got to look for the right keywords. And then again, you have to filter through and make sure you you have to have two reliable sources, which goes back to CNN. Well, if your two reliable sources are the Daily Beast and Huffington Post, or the Huffington Post, that's still not really two independent sources. They probably got their news from the same one source.
Well, maybe Trump will step in and straighten this whole mess up.
Did you like the picture of Trump as the devil?
Is that the one with Romney?
Yeah, the one with Romney. That was hysterical. Make sure you go on the Beacon of Speech blog, and I put that picture on there. That made me laugh. So one thing that we're going to segue. I read the Moby biography, Porcelain. Excuse me.
Porcelain?
Porcelain. Porcelain was a song off of one of his biggest albums. And Moby said something very profound. He said, yelling at people makes them hear less. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's very profound. And it reminds me of the Indians in North Dakota. They can yell, Army Corps of Engineers can yell, but they're digging in. They're planting. They're gonna have a little bit of a head to head, and the more they yell, the less the other side's gonna hear. You know what I mean?
So I just wonder how big this area is that they have. What is it, a reserve or
a reservation?
Reservation.
It's like about 1/12 of the size of North Dakota. It's a big reservation.
Yeah. So there's like no way to go around there. You know what I mean? They can't put this thing...
No. Where the water that is on the edge of their land, right? It goes, north south, but it goes, it's a river. You know what I mean? And the river runs from, down to the Mississippi, and it feeds from the plains through the Indian reservation. So if there was a leak, technically the Indians are right. Again, the oil would leak, fall into their water, and then come through their land.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? But, the U.S. government's like, well, lots of things could happen. There could be an oil leak anywhere. There could be an oil leak at the gas station. So, but again, if the Indians make me feel like the underdog story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I hope I'm not coming across as being anti-Indian.
But the American government is coming to you, and they're saying, Ted, you like having gas for $1.99. You tell those Indians, get the hell off American land. But this is the same thing that's been going on since the 1800s.
No, I'm not coming across as...
Oh, no, you're not.
No,
I'm picking on you because...
No, because I feel bad for the Indians.
I do too. And I feel bad because this has been going on for 6 months. Have we talked about it on Beacon of Speech?
No.
No. And I didn't know. I felt very uneducated about it because I'm reading the story on CNN. I'm like, well, there's got to be more to the story. Indians just don't randomly come and squat. You know what I mean? And then you go to the Indian website, and, it's like the white man is at it again. There they go again with their pipelines. Next thing they're going to play. That's why it's hard. Everybody is spinning their agenda, and they're not telling the whole story. And the whole story is that the government's being a-holes, and the Indians are probably overreacting. But again, they're using the government's own words against them. They said, why didn't you put in Bismarck? And again, it wouldn't have gone through Bismarck. It would have went through the northern suburbs of Bismarck. But they're like, if you were worried about the safety of the population of Bismarck, why aren't you worried about... Well, the pipeline's got to go somewhere, and it's the whole American way. We want it, but not in my backyard.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want the pipeline down McCracken, right? Well, screw that. I'm gonna squat, and then and what would happen is you would squat, and you would be on McCracken. You're in the center of McCracken Road, and you get your friends there, right? And Joe Kaufman's not here again today, so sorry, Joe. Okay. But me, your friends, Joe, we're all squatting, and then here comes a U.S. government riot police, right? Here comes a National Guard or Reserve, and I'm like, hey, Ted. and I'm gone. You know what I mean? I'm not sticking around. Okay? You'll be like, I'm dying for this. Well, again, you wonder what the Indians claim that their resolve is strong, right? And their resolve is strong because they're taking, retired U.S. troops, and they're lining the lines. They're bringing in the reinforcements. You don't bring in reinforcements if you don't expect a fight. If the U.S. government says, be gone by December 5th, and you bring in reinforcements, I don't think they're negotiating. You know what I mean?
Now they're military veterans who are coming in?
Yes.
From what? Iraq or?
No, from all over America, because...
All different ages?
Yeah. And they think that the Indians' rights are getting trampled on again. And again, they're not, hiring private security. They're hiring ex-military. And not hiring, I'm sorry, I misspoke. They're recruiting ex-military, and ex-military is like, okay, we're going to go stand in the cold, get shot by water cannons, and we ain't moving. But I wanted to talk about it because if it turns into a line of cops here, or not a line of cops, like a line of military here and a line of Indians supported by their, by old American military, then it is going to be on the front page of CNN. It will be the lead story.
Yeah. What do they call that? The optics would be pretty bad.
The optics would be horrible for the U.S. government, and they don't want that.
Yeah.
But they also want their pipeline. Well, if you Indians didn't want this pipeline, why didn't you say something? Well, we did say something. We've been saying it for 6 months. You know what I mean? And then they'll start to spin it as, well, why are you mad now? You know what I mean? Why aren't you? The Indians have 100 years of getting pushed around, and I think this is like their red line.
And the funny thing is that it's, we're all guilty because we all want inexpensive fuel.
Yeah.
And all they're doing is trying to get, more fuel for us to buy. We're all contributing to it.
Yeah. Every time I buy fuel, it's like saying, we're going to pipeline. You guys can suck eggs.
Yeah. So, I drive every day. And it's like, I don't enjoy it, but I do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wish I could figure out another way to get from point A to point B.
Yeah. So, but the Army Corps of Engineers, they're just like, here's the project, right? They're not evil. They're not like, the Army Corps of Engineers did not wake up one day and say, how can we screw the Indians? Okay? I believe that in my heart. I don't think they said that, right? I think they said, because they're bureaucrats, they said, we're going to make the pipeline go from point A to B. Here's Here's the way we should go. And then they said, no, we're not. And then some other bureaucrats said, no, we're not going to do that. And they said, well, then we're going to go this way. And they said, okay, let's go. We're going to do it. And I really think it was that simple. You know, everybody thinks everything's a conspiracy. The Indians are like, how can the white man screw us again? I guarantee you part of the conspiracy is that they didn't care. They're like, we're just going to go here. You're not going there. Okay, well, then we're just going to go here. I find it unfathomable that there was a bunch of engineers at a table saying, how can we screw Indians? We'll put it right across their land and piss them off, and then we're going to laugh at them from our $1 million man. I don't think that happened either. You know what I mean?
Wouldn't it be funny if they made the pipeline? The pipeline will be going through several states, right?
Yes.
Wouldn't it be funny if they made it like zigzag so that it goes through all the Indians?
Circled all the Indian reservations. Well, yeah, if they really wanted to screw the Indians, they could have hit every reservation, like, we're going to do it here, and then we're going to do it right in front of this burial. Because I guess part of their argument, the main part of the argument is the water, okay? But the secondary argument is that is celestial land. I'm like, all of the United States is celestial, historically Indian lands. But then again, they point to some treaty from 1868 that says, we will not tamper with your water rights. And again, the Indians, they're like, we have this treaty right here, right here, 1868, or whatever year it is. It's not within the last 115 years.
So the Indians are bastards for pointing out facts.
Yes, yeah. Why are you bringing facts around here? So I'm looking at our time, and I want to try and tie this up on something less serious, but I had to bring it up because this whole pipeline fight, it's going to come to a head before next episode, and I wanted to at least bring it up so we can see who the real a-holes are. You know what I mean? I have a good idea. I already know who the a-holes are. I've already said it. But, yeah, we're going to go from there. We're going to do something fun. I was reading Rolling Stone magazine, and I basically read it just to get angry anymore. Okay? It's like I don't take joy in reading it anymore. I never go on Rolling Stone and say, oh, there's a new band. I'm going to listen to them. And then I listen to them, and then they're good. I'm like, I'm glad I've read Rolling Stone. Right? It doesn't happen. Now, I do that sometimes with, I'll give a free plug, alternative press. Every once in a while, they'll say, listen to this music, I'll turn it on. I like that, right? And but Rolling Stone usually just pisses me off, okay? They had a list this week, top 10 albums of the year, according to Rolling Stone magazine. Ted, what year is this?
2016.
2016. Now, are you up with music today?
No,
you're not. I'm not either. You know what I mean? But we're going to talk about it. The number 10, you know what? Where's a pencil? Is there a pencil or a pen around here? Because I want to see this. This is the glory of doing the Beacon of Speech with no radio. With no video. We look less clueless. Here, have a seat right back. I'll be right back. But see, we can walk around now because we don't have headphones. So now we can wander around and do visuals. See, this is excellent TV. With 2 empty chairs. Just pretend like Joe Kaufman is sitting right there. Okay? Here's my list. Okay? Number 10 album of the year is Young Thug. Are you familiar with the rapper Young Thug?
No.
I am not either. Okay? And I'm not going to listen to Young Thug because I already know what his type of rap is. Okay? Not a big fan of new rap. I like old rap. Like, I posted something by Sir Mix-a-Lot this week. Because I like Sir Mix-a-Lot. And it wasn't Baby Got Back. It was something different. But I feel like a middle-aged man that I am. See the gray beard and stuff. I'm like, I like old rap when they used to rap about things. Like fighting the power. Young Thug's just singing about glorified violence. Number 9, Leonard Cohen. The name of the album is You Want It Darker. Are you familiar with Leonard Cohen?
Barely.
He just died last week.
Yes,
And he was, guesstimate, how old was he?
I believe he was 82.
Okay, let's just say he's 82. Whether you're right or not is immaterial. Ted, did an 82-year-old man have one of the top rock and roll records of the year?
Yes.
No. He did not. Okay? Rock and roll is a young man's game. No 80-year-old had the best album of the year. Okay? That shows, again, back to fake news. Rolling Stone is a king of fake news. They reported, what was it, the Virginia Tech rape or something?
Yeah.
But yeah, so Rolling Stone is trying to tell me, right, that an 82-year-old man had one of the top rock and roll records of the year. So there's, again, we're back to fake news. There's no way that it's true. Now, he could have had one of the top 10 albums of the year, right? But there's no way. If you were in a room of 80-year-old men, maybe he did have one of the top 10 records of the year, okay, or albums of the year. Number 8, Kanye West, Life of Pablo. You're familiar with Kanye West.
Yeah.
Now, even though you're familiar with Kanye West, you don't go home and listen to Kanye West, right? You're not sitting in your laying in your bed with headphones on listening to Kanye West.
Of course I am.
The point is, so now we have 2 rappers and an 80-year-old man, right? Number 7, the Rolling Stones' new album, Blue and Lonesome. The Rolling Stones are in their 70s. Did the Rolling Stones have one of the top 10 rock and roll records of the year?
Yes.
No! No, they did not! You do not have your pulse on contemporary culture. Would you say that's fair?
No, I don't. No.
And you do not have your pulse on contemporary music. Is that fair?
No.
But you have heard of all these people, except for Young Thug, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay? I'm picking on you, but you're still my friend, but you don't have your pulse on anything, and you know all these artists. Because it's not about the music, it's about the brand, the Rolling Stones brand. You know, people are still singing Sympathy for the Devil, and they're like, oh, this new album's great. It's not great. If you actually listen to music, it is not a great album. Okay? I remember my father-in-law. He likes the Rolling Stones, okay, but he doesn't love them. And I said, why don't you love the Rolling Stones? He goes, because they don't put out great albums. They put out good songs, right? And you think of, and let me use the analogy, you're a classic rock huge fan, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Dark Side of the Moon, you don't listen to any song on Dark Side of the Moon. You listen to the album Dark Side of the Moon, top to bottom, right? Have you ever listened to a Rolling Stones album start to finish? Where you thought every song on that album...
Well...
And that's my question to you.
Well, technically the answer is yes, because I had, what was it, Hot Rocks?
Okay.
Which was kind of like a greatest hits.
No, that doesn't count. Because when I was a kid...
But albums that they put out...
Yes,
no.
albums that... No. Because they, even in their heyday, they didn't put out great albums, which is the category, right? Because, again, you know...
Was that the name of the album, Hot Rocks?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yes. But I remember when I was a kid, I had Queen's Greatest Hits. And I love that album, but I was 10, right? And I'm like, there's no bad songs. I'm like, well, yeah, because it's Queen's Greatest Hits. And if you go back to some of their old stuff, you know what I mean? They had a few good albums, but once Queen got going, they didn't have good albums anymore. They had a few good songs and crappy albums. Same thing with Rolling Stone. There's no way on God's green earth that they had one of the top 10 albums of the year. Okay? Number 6, Radiohead. Now, I love Radiohead. Well, I used to. I don't really love them anymore. I just like them. But like OK Computer and the Bends and Kid A, I think that's what it was. You know, they're good albums. So I haven't listened to the new Radiohead, so I'm going to put a star. I'm going to put an asterisk. Okay? Asterisk. Maybe Radiohead does have. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. But, again, and back to my analogy of rock and roll as a young man's game, have you heard of Radiohead?
Oh, yeah.
But their biggest years were not 2012, 2013, 2000. Their biggest years were 1996, when they sang Creep, I want to say that was like 1992. That's 25 years ago. Radiohead is no longer on the cutting edge of anything. And don't get me wrong, maybe, and I'm looking at it, maybe A Moon-Shaped Pool is the best album of the year. Okay? But I find it hard to believe that Radiohead is setting the curb this year. Okay? Number 5, Frank Ocean. Okay?
Is it Billy Ocean's brother?
No, Frank Ocean is similar to Kanye West. And I don't mean similar in musical. I mean, rapper, but not pure rap. Not old school rap. Again, he's not Public Enemy. He's not the Beastie Boys, Now, this one's kind of curious. Number 4 is Car Seat Headrest. And the song is Teens in Denial, or the album is Teens in Denial. Now, number 1, Car Seat Headrest. I've never heard of them, right?
No, neither have I.
And Teens of Denial, that must be geared towards young people. So maybe, even though I haven't listened to it, they got one right. A band I have never heard of because I don't have my pulse on society, right? Just like you. And it's geared towards young people. Wow, young people listen to rock and roll. Now, for all I know, I could go on the internet when we're done here, and it's a country band, and I set the thing on fire. I'm like, oh, that's horrible. Okay? Number 3, Chance the Rapper. Do you think he's a rapper?
Yes.
And his album is Coloring Book. Okay? Again, it's the same analogy as Kanye West. If you think he's cutting edge, that's fine. If you think he's saying something, that's fine. He's talking to Youth America, that's fine. I'm still not... Are you coming up with any young rock and roll bands that have one of the top rock records of the year? You see what I'm saying? Now, you could be like, oh, well, rap is the new rock. Okay, well, then be, Rapping Stones magazine. Number 2, you got to tell me if you ever heard of this guy before. David Bowie.
Yes.
Black Star.
Yes.
Now, this is where I'm going to...
So this list is Rolling Stone's top 10
of
albums?
the year.
Okay.
Yeah, top 10 albums of the year. Now, I'm gonna defend Rolling Stone, even though I just ripped on them for the last 10 minutes. I actually listened to Black Star, okay? David Bowie, from the time he was young till the time he died, he never stood still. You know what I mean? If I listen to that Rolling Stones album, I already know what it's going to sound like. Okay? David Bowie was trying to move into somewhere where he's singing over experimental jazz. Okay? Now, whether that's good or bad, I thought some of it was okay. I listened to the album. It was just too dark and bleak for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Well, because it's about death. It's about his passage into death. I mean, that's what the album is about. But the album said something. The album was trying to move forward. You see what I'm saying? David Bowie never stayed still. He was always moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
But the case against it, David Bowie died. How old was he?
69?
69 years old. So even if he was moving all the way to death, I don't know if that was one of the best 10 albums of the year. Like I said, I actually listened to the whole thing of Black Star. Right? There were no catchy hooks. It was dark. It was kind of sketchy. It was bleak. David Bowie, he sounded good, but he sounded like defeated. You know what I mean? Well, yeah, because he's dying. You know what I mean? And maybe one day when I'm in my 60s, I'll be like, David Bowie was a visionary. I understand. Right? So I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth because I respect that they said that it was, but it wasn't like, there's no 20-year-old picking up Black Star. You know what I mean? I mean, there just isn't. I mean, if you're catering towards 50-year-old people like us, even I'm saying maybe, you know what I mean? And then this is the one that really got me. The number one album of the year, according to Rolling Stone, is, tell me if you've ever heard of this person, Beyonce, Lemonade. And I'm like, now, I will take this sheet of paper and I will eat it. Okay? If Beyonce had the best album of the year, I guarantee you, because I've only heard a song here, a song there. I did not listen to Lemonade from top to bottom. Okay? There is no way that album was the top album of the year. Okay? It's, again, the analogy is, I've used on Beacon of Speech before. Iron Maiden, name more than one song besides Run to the Hills.
Oh, I can't. I really don't know anything about them.
Okay. They used to say that Iron Maiden, because all Iron Maiden was the same, right? After you get past the third album, you just take Eddie, and Eddie the mascot, the skeleton-looking guy. Mm-hmm. They said that all you have to do is take Eddie, right? Slap him on a piece of cardboard, and 500,000 dumb teenagers would buy the Iron Maiden album. Okay? At this point, people are saying that, I shouldn't say buying, because they don't buy albums anymore. They're saying the Beyonce album's great because she's Beyonce. She's Miss It. You know what I mean? It's all branding and selling an image. And don't get me wrong. Beyonce does have some good songs. Okay? But she is not putting out, again, Dark Side of the Moon, 1973. Fred Hunt, it's not 1973 anymore. Okay? But like a couple of weeks ago, I was listening to a metal band from London called Puppy. Okay? And they had a new, I think it was an EP, a 6-song EP that came out. And I listened to it top to bottom because I like Puppy. And Puppy sounds a little bit like, some metal from the 80s. Not exactly like it, but you could draw some parallels, right? Nobody's writing about Puppy because they don't have a publicity department. They're not out there, on social media. It's not about being... The guys in Puppy, they look like... Okay. Look out my window right there, okay? Down at the end of my cul-de-sac, there's 4 boys who play in a garage band, okay? And it's just like your garage band, right? Mm-hmm. And they are dopey kids from North Ridgeville. They're all about 19 years old. And if you think of dopey kids from North Ridgeville, that's what they look like. And that's what Puppy looks like. Because they don't have any money for image. They don't have a machine, everything. It's not all about music. And there's no way that Beyonce put out the best album of the year. Now, because I've only heard songs on it, I'm going to listen. Now, this is my homework. I'm writing down my homework today. Okay? I am going to listen to Lemonade. Okay? Listen to Lemonade. And you asked me, next Speaking of Speech, Fred Hunt, did you listen to Lemonade? The whole, and not parts. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to torture myself and listen to it start to finish and see if it was the best album of the year. I guarantee you it's not even better than Black Star, okay, by some 60-year-old. But again, it goes back to, it's not about music. It's about selling an image. It's about selling a brand. It's about selling a message. It's not about the music. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You never lived in Cleveland. You didn't live in downtown Cleveland. You don't know the struggle of Beyonce. I don't know how Beyonce... When I hear about Beyonce struggling, it makes me want to beat my head on that wall. Okay? Because Beyonce was in, I believe it was Destiny's Child, right?
Yeah.
And then it was her and these other 2 girls, and then her dad was the manager. They didn't like the 2 girls, so they fired the other 2 girls and said, my daughter's the star.
Yeah.
Right? Well, she did not come up from nothing and, knock it out. There's all about production and her dad guiding her career and blah, blah, blah. Now, people are like, but still she makes great music. Again, going back to the Rolling Stones analogy, the Rolling Stones made great music too, but they didn't make great albums. And they definitely did not make the 7th best album of the year. Because the whole point of my story is, is you don't know anything about music today, and you knew almost everybody on that list.
Yeah.
Because it's about getting your name into the pop culture and moving the needle. How does Rolling Stone get people to read their magazine? Oh, the casual person has heard of Beyonce. It's the top album of the year. There's nothing in it for Rolling Stone to say Puppy had the great best album of the year. Now, I'm not saying Puppy did.
It's the same reason why Hillary Clinton was the nominee for the Democratic Party.
Right.
Because of name.
Name recognition. Yeah. And Donald Trump, again...
She wasn't the best, most qualified person.
Yes, and Trump, people hated Trump, but Trump had the name recognition. Half the battle is knowing your name. How many times did me and you come on here and we're talking about Gary Johnson? And nobody knew who Gary Johnson was. He wasn't a wrestler. When I voted for Jesse Ventura in the Minnesota governor's race in 1996, half of Jesse Ventura's battle was name recognition. And they go, we know who Jesse Ventura is. You know, half of these people who are running, if you don't have the name recognition, you're screwed. Just like like you said with Hillary Clinton. They got the name recognition. You know, Elizabeth Warren, she probably would have been a better woman candidate, but Elizabeth Warren did not have the name recognition of Hillary Clinton. And she didn't have the war chest, she didn't have the foundation, she didn't have the husband ex-president. You see what I'm saying? But I find it hard to believe that Elizabeth Warren and Hillary Clinton were that much different.
Yeah. But, you know, Obama really didn't have name recognition. You know what I mean? He came out of kind of nowhere.
But, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it does happen. Okay?
Yeah, I mean...
But here's my analogy, okay?
I mean, nationally, people didn't know who he was before he,
Right.
And just, like Bill Clinton, people knew him in Arkansas, but he kind of came out of nowhere.
Right. But, again, we'll use the Rolling Stone list as an analogy of pop culture, okay? I don't know who car seat headrest is, right? So you can have one of the top albums of the year, but unless the chances are that unless you are a known entity, you're not gonna have one of the top. You see what I'm saying? The analogy that comes to mind is Major League Baseball. There is no salary cap in baseball. The teams that spend $200 million usually end up in the World Series. Would you say that's fair? Usually.
Yeah.
And then the Indians this year, their payroll. What's happening to our screen? Is there's a light thing here? Oh no, that's just my eyes. I'm sorry. That's my door frame. I thought that was a ray of light. Like we had, the Lord had given us a ray of light right here.
Oh, that?
Yeah. I didn't realize that was the door. That just caught my eye in a funny way. But so the Indians made it to the World Series, right? And they're like, see, a small market team can do it. Well, when's the last time they won the World Series? 70 years ago. You know what I mean? So again, the analogy is everything is slanted. And I think I say this on maybe our last 20 in a row. Everything is slanted, but the more money you have, the better your advantage is. And that's just the way it's slanted. And I read an article today. It said that Donald Trump was a crony businessman. Now that he's president, he's going to be a crony capitalist. And it's like, yeah, welcome to America.
Well, that may be true, but you have to wait and see.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be fun. And like I said, it's going to make some great art. Like I said, maybe next year they'll have somebody who's 25 years old you've never heard of, and they wrote the greatest anti-Trump album there ever was. And maybe Rolling Stone will put their poll. And again, Fred, if Rolling Stone makes you so mad, why do you keep going to it, right? Well, I'm on CNN, right? And then right on the bottom, sponsored content, Rolling Stone. right? Rolling Stone magazine. A lot of these other magazines, they don't have tie-ins with multinational. Their eyes, people's eyes are not getting to them. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now, there's other places that I read that I respect, like Consequence of Sound, New Noise Magazine, Alternative Press. Where I read those things, I respect them more, but I'm not seeing advertisements for Alternative Press Magazine on CNN. I'm just not. I can't go a day without seeing, sponsored content, Rolling Stone Magazine, Beyonce #1 album. That's not right. Let me look at that article. Right? The old, angry, middle-aged man that I am.
You kind of reminded me of Lewis Black when you did that.
I do not have the fire in my... I like Lewis Black, okay? But I don't have the fire in my belly. My voice doesn't... What I like about Lewis Black is he's got that edge of insanity voice. Like, he really could strangle you, right? But my voice is still kind of like, yeah, whatever. Like a small dog. Small dog. Yip, 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 yip. People aren't scared of the small dog. They're like, shut up, dog. So, but yeah, my outline is done. Do you want to add anything else? Oh, we have a prediction. Prediction. What's our prediction?
Ooh.
It said on December 1st. What was our prediction? This is from the 9/11 prediction show.
Oh, boy.
We did a random prediction, okay? We were talking about UFC 204, right? And it said, and me and you don't know crap about UFC. No. Again, it goes back to what permeates the common man, right? I said Ronda Rousey will be back and she will lose because I don't think Ronda Rousey has the fire in her belly, right? You said...
Who is Ronda Rousey?
You did. You put a question mark. Who is Ronda Rousey? Okay?
Did I really say that?
Yeah. Yeah, you had question mark. You said, who is Ronda Rousey? But I think you laughed because you knew she was a UFC fighter. Yeah. But I just read an article last week. She wants to come back for one more fight, and then she wants to act. Well, Ronda Rousey's not an actor, or an actress, I apologize. Okay? But, of course, she doesn't want to get her head kicked in. You know what I mean? UFC is hardcore stuff, and what would you rather do? Would you rather make $1 million not getting your head kicked in, or would you rather make $1 million getting your head kicked in?
I heard she was going to be in Blasphemers too.
She can be in Blasphemers too. I'm telling you, I want to make Blasphemers too. See that they're looking at this and they're like, oh, we're not trusting these guys. But yeah, Blasphemers too. I want to make it. I got the outline, but I think I can't remember his name, but I was over at Cousin Dan's house, who was in Blasphemers, right? Mm-hmm. And we were watching Reaper, and it was a small little drama comedy that was on, and it was only on for one season, and it was canceled, right? Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was renewed for a second season and canceled halfway through the second season. But I really liked Reaper. If I had... Oh, is something going on? Is someone coming back home? Do we have to tie up the show?
No, I'm just... You were looking over there, so now I'm looking over there.
I'm sorry. I was probably looking through you. But
hey, that's a Beatles song. I'm looking through you.
If I had an unlimited income and I could do Blasphemers 2, I would get the kid from Reaper. That's who would star in my film. And right now, when he did Reaper, he was in his 20s. But now he's probably in his early 30s, so he's perfect for Blasphemers 2. But I don't think he's going to do it for free, taking props and T-shirts from me. So I have to make some money before he can be in the movie.
Now, will you be asking Lewis again?
No, Lewis is out. Lewis
burned that bridge.
Lewis has burned that bridge. Lewis will not be in the second movie. Actually, that's not true. Because Lewis, I think, has some secret incomes that he's not telling me about. Because he's got some in-laws or brothers or something that make a fair amount of money. So if Lewis gave me the money, he can star. Because originally Lewis was going to star in it, right? Mm-hmm. So if he gives me money, he can star in the movie. But now he has to pay me, not I pay him. Or not pay him. You see what I'm saying? So I don't want to burn the Lewis Bridge. Okay, see over there? Mm-hmm. There's the Lewis Bridge. Mm-hmm. The Lewis Bridge is 3/4 burned down. Okay, but if your life depended on it, you could still cross the Lewis Bridge. But it's mostly burned down. Okay, but there's a way to cross the Lewis Bridge, and again, it has to do because we live in America. If Lewis came back and said, "I have financing for Blasphemers 2, can I sign?" I say, "Lewis, see that bridge? That was never burned. I had that bridge waiting for you the whole time." So yeah, so Ronda Rousey can be in Blasphemers 2 too. But again, once she tasted the crossover popularity, I really think she lost the fire in her belly, the taste in her mouth, whatever crappy analogy you want to use. So, okay, so we got that prediction out of the way. We're not making any predictions today. And song of the day is That's When I Reach for My Revolver. Moby did a cover of that, but you want to go back to 1981 and listen to the original version by the band Mission of Burma. Mission of Burma probably had one of the top 10 albums of 2001. Or not 2001, 1980. Did I say 2001?
Yeah.
Mission of Burma in 1981. And Mission of Burma probably had one of the top albums in 1981. And the idiots at Rolling Stone probably said it was that the last Eagles album. What was the last one before they broke up? It would have been 79 or 80.
The Long Run.
Yeah, they probably said The Long Run was one of the top 10 albums when they should have said it was Mission of Burma.